Hey everybody, welcome back to Political Excess. Today, let's do a deep dive into the upcoming U.S. Senate election in Washington. There's been some talk about this race being more competitive, so let's take a look at that. But first, let's get on Ballotpedia and get a little bit of background. The incumbent senator is Democrat Patty Murray. She is running for re-election to a sixth term. 6 years ago, when she last won re-election, she won by almost 18 points. So she has been in office since 1993, and her opponent on the Republican side is Tiffany Smiley. Smiley is a nurse, and she does not appear to have any prior political experience. So let's see how they did in their primary. Well, Washington has a top two primary, where all candidates, regardless of party, run on the same ballot, and the top two advance to the general election. Patty Murray was first place with 54% of the vote. Tiffany Smiley was second place with 32%. And then there's a ton of other candidates who got a small fraction of the vote, other Democrats, Republicans, and independents. It's hard to have any definitive takeaways from a primary system like this, but the main headline is Patty Murray easily got majority of the vote. So let's go down here and take a look at campaign finance. This actually shows the amount of money for both candidates is very close. Both of them have a lot of cash on hand, and they both have spent over $10 million. So that could be indicative that Tiffany Smiley does have more going on than it seems. Let's see how this race is rated. Well, Koch Political Report and Inside Elections have it at likely Democratic. Larry Sabato has it at safe Democratic. My own rating has been safe Democratic. Washington is a moderately to heavily blue state, and Patty Murray is a household name. That doesn't mean she has to win. Sometimes voters do get tired of a senator sitting in there for decades. But she did win by 18 points last time. The narrowest win of her 5 previous Senate election wins was in 2010, where she won by about 5 points. And her second worst was 8 points back in 1992. All the other ones are over double digits, and the safe bet is to say it will be over double digits in the end. I'm not going to be so bold as to say I know what's going to happen, because sometimes things happen that haven't happened before. There's occasionally upsets. Even considering all that, I don't think Washington is in the upset category yet. I could see it being in the high single digits, but I haven't really seen anything yet that would indicate it would actually be much closer than that. So let's go down here and see how the counties have been voting on a presidential level. This shows us that 72.5% of the population lives in 11 counties that are solid Democratic. Those are counties that voted for the Democrat for president in the last 3 elections. On the other end, 22.3% of the population lives in 22 counties that are solid Republican. There's another 4 counties that are trending Republican with 3.6% of the population. And those did vote for Obama in 2012 but switched and stuck with Trump in 2016 and 20. Let's dig a little bit further into this and take a look at the county map. And remember, the shading does not indicate margins. That just indicates if they voted for the Democrat or the Republican for president in the last 1, 2, or 3 elections. The most populous county is, of course, King County with Seattle. And 2 years ago, Joe Biden won that with 75% of the vote, and that is good enough for more than a 50-point margin. And most of these other solid blue counties have roughly maintained their margin of victory for the Democrat for president or ticked slightly toward the left. For example, Thurston County has Olympia, the state capital. Joe Biden won that by roughly the same margin as Barack Obama did 8 years prior. And most of the eastern part of the state has some deeper red counties, and these voted for Donald Trump not by overwhelming margins, but Trump was able to pick up easily 55 to 65% of the vote in most of these counties. Even Spokane County, that has only barely moved toward the Democrats from where it has back in 2012. One other county to mention here is Clallam County. That is the county that has the current longest active bellwether streak of predicting the winner for presidential elections. I did do a video back on this earlier in the year, if you want to check that out. As you can see, it did nearly go for Barack Obama in 12. It switched to Trump in 16, and it went back to Biden 2 years ago. So that county is probably a good indicator for which way a lot of statewide or presidential elections might go. So let's move on to YouTube and see what they've got on their channels. I believe this is Patty Murray's channel. That's not her official Senate channel, so she does have some ads on here and some other events she's involved in. And here is Tiffany Smiley's channel. She's got some ads of her own and other related media appearances. And we could also take a look at their official campaign websites. Here is Patty Murray's website. If you want to see what she's up to, see where she stands on the issues, or maybe you're dying to throw Patty Murray $50, you could do that right here if you'd like. And here's Tiffany Smiley's channel if you want to see where she stands on the issues, get some background information, or donate to her. So how about any debates? Looks like there's going to be a debate on October 23rd, as well as another town hall on October 30th. This is going to be a situation where Patty Murray is probably not going to want to debate because she knows that it could probably only hurt her. But as I always say, we want the debates. So let's switch over to Wikipedia and take a look at the endorsements. Patty Murray has no elected officials on here, but she does have a bunch of organizations. And Tiffany Smiley, she also has some of her own, some elected officials, and some organizations. And that takes us down to the polling, and in the aggregate, as of the time I'm making this video, Patty Murray is leading 8.7% according to Real Clear Politics. She's up 9.6 on 538. So let's see the individual polls. Well, the most recent one is from Emerson College. They're a fairly reputable polling firm, and that shows Patty Murray with a 9% lead, 51 to 42 over Tiffany Smiley, 7% undecided. And some of the other polls are kind of all over the place, with Patty Murray clearly over a 10-point advantage in some of these, and the Trafalgar poll shows Patty Murray only with a 2-point lead. That was from last month. So none of these show Tiffany Smiley with a lead. So let's compare these poll results to how they stacked up back in 2016. So Patty Murray had almost 59% of the vote in that race, and surprisingly that last SurveyMonkey poll was not too far off, only slightly underestimating Chris Vance. So it was a wide margin and a clear, decisive victory for Patty Murray 6 years ago. The polls don't seem to be way off, but probably they did underestimate the Republican a little bit. And finally, let's get on PredictIt and see what the markets are showing. And there, Patty Murray, the Democrat, is at 89 cents. Tiffany Smiley, the Republican, is at 14 cents. So that is quite overwhelming for Patty Murray. I would think there's a 98% chance she wins, even if somehow it does narrow considerably in the final couple of weeks. So in conclusion, Washington is just too blue of a state for a Republican to really make it truly competitive as of now. It does not mean that Patty Murray cannot be beaten. Tiffany Smiley could surge at the end. Patty Murray could collapse in the debates. And an issue like abortion is probably going to have more impact in a state like Washington, even though the state is controlled by Democrats and abortion is not really something that Tiffany Smiley is going to be able to have an impact on there. But I do suppose something like a federal abortion ban is something that will motivate some of these Patty Murray voters if they think she's in danger at the end. All the other issues like crime, homelessness, and inflation, those are all valid and will favor Tiffany Smiley, the Republican. So Patty Murray is going to steer clear of most of those issues. She's really only going to focus on abortion and a couple of legislative successes that Joe Biden has, such as the Inflation Reduction Act. She's going to show she's effective, and she has seniority in the Senate. If this were a little bit more of a red-leaning year, and it was an open seat, Tiffany Smiley, she probably could actually maybe narrowly squeak out a win. So as of now, I would think her best-case scenario is a 5-point loss, or she could still end up losing by 13 or 14 points. As I always say, something could change at the end. So Tiffany Smiley is going to make a good run at it, but unless I'm in for a complete blindside upset, Patty Murray is going to win another 6-year term. Anyway, that's a deep dive into this Washington U.S. Senate race. Let me know down below in the comments, what do you think about this race? Is this race closer than I make it out to be, and could it get down under a 5-point margin? Definitely let me know if there's something I'm unaware of. And if you enjoy this channel, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.